Thinking Native, 11 Insights for 2011, with your host Saul Kropman from The Digital Edge.
I'm Antonio Petra, and I'm head of Insight, which is essentially the analytics, measurement, and research department.
Fancy title, what does it mean?
It means that I have a glowing halo and flying robes. No, basically what it means is that I continue to do the analytics and measurement that I've always done, which is basically analyzing customers' websites and on just online performance in general, all the way from the websites to social media and campaigning. And providing insights and actual insights on those. And then in addition to that, we'll also be doing research for customers, which is actually kind of a natural growth of our department. So we will be doing online research and also offline research as well.
You and Cambrent have come quite a long way in the whole analytics department. I mean, what is the story behind that?
Basically, with analytics, we were doing what we were doing before we formalized it at Cambrent. I think both Cambrent was measuring and I was measuring. Over the last 2 years, though, what we've done is we've consolidated the tools we use and the value that we're delivering to clients. I mean, we really have a fantastic product offering now where we're delivering real actionable insights to clients. And we're improving their investment. Often companies will just go in, they'll build a website, and then they leave the building. What we're now doing, and when I look back over this year with our clients, is we're just continuously improving their online behavior, or online performance rather. And I mean, that's in all aspects, even in social media now, which is actually relatively new. What I've found is that when I speak to the guys in the States, the practices that we're developing in terms of measuring and analyzing online social media are actually right up there. I mean, we're one of the leaders in the world, which is an amazing thing. I'm not saying we have the biggest clients in the world, but we're definitely, in terms of practice, and we are leading the pack.
Are there any special tools that you use that you can mention, or is it a hush-hush?
No, we're agnostic. We use whatever gets the job done. I mean, like literally, I think what I pride the department on is the fact that we can use pretty much any analytics tool, and that if we need to, we'll learn how to use one. At heart, all analytics tools are basically the same. And, I mean, not to go on about it, because I always talk about this, but it's the 10-90 rule. Companies should be spending 10% of their budget on the tool and 90% on analysis. The fact is that the tools, all they give you is a data dump. They give you a data dump, and that's it. And basically, it's really the analysis that's the value. So we have to be in that position where we can use anything. And we really do. I mean, we attend conferences. We're doing research online all the time to find the best tools for the job. I mean, like I said, social media is new, and there's always new stuff cropping up that you can use. Not just better, but more cost-effective as well, which makes real sense to the clients.
So you're in essence actually saving the client money in the long run.
Actually, go further than that, we're making them money. I mean, that's what I'm most proud of. I don't measure my performance by, how many clients I get retainers from. I actually measure it by, I would love to think I could measure it by how big their bonuses are at the end of the year. But actually, it's the profit. At the end of the line, that's what the clients are focused on, is their bottom line. And that's what we need to be focused on as well. I mean, most companies, I keep on saying most companies, but a lot of companies do. They go out there, build a website. They don't even think about the bottom line. I actually try and encourage every level of the organization to think about it. I mean, it's incredibly important that.
Obviously, analytics is an ongoing process for a website. How long should it be ongoing for, though?
It's continual. There are different phases of the project. There's installation. Basically, it starts off, in fact, before installation, there's strategy, then there's installation, and then there's a continual cycle of improvement. And it eventually ends up at a point, and this is the mature point that we're getting to with some of our clients, where we start incorporating other data sources, so offline data sources. Let me give you an example. If it's an e-commerce thing, we start incorporating the delivery of the product, which may be something that's tracked by SAP. And that's a very interesting thing, that's where measurement and analytics is maturing to. It's extending beyond online.
Maybe you can give us some examples of the improvements that you've made to some client websites.
Yeah, it's difficult to actually say there's one thing, because every month what we do is we go back to clients with actionable insights. And at least every single presentation we'll do to clients is between 5 and 10 different actionable things they can do to improve traffic. The point is there aren't any of our sites that we do serious reporting on with declining traffic or declining conversion rates. And that's through this year where, whether people say it or not, there has been a recession. I think that's a very important thing to acknowledge. It was a very confusing year because of the World Cup and there were significant public holidays, so there were dips in traffic. But overall, year on year, we've improved all of our clients' presence and their conversion rates.
You mentioned that you are measuring social media. What's different to measuring social media as opposed to, say, a normal traditional website?
Look, social media, you can in some ways draw back to the bottom line and its impact on the bottom line. You have to be quite specific about the setup, but generally what we're tracking in social media, obviously we're looking for comments which may affect the business's performance, complaints and things like that. That's the basic one. But generally what we do is from a reporting point of view, we'll actually be tracking sentiment and sentiment towards certain strategic things. The companies will often have a strategy. There'll be things that they're interested in knowing about, like let's take, as retailers, they want to know how their stores are, what people's attitudes towards their stores are, or specifically there's dimensions within the stores, like the staff. What is the attitude towards the staff? What is the attitude towards the managers? And that informs the actual business strategy going forward. Very interesting. Recently, we have issues over pricing and price perception. That's a very, very contentious issue at the moment because of the recession. But basically, people have become very price aware, and they sort of build up the illusion that one retailer may be more expensive than another. So we'll help that retailer try and figure out what is influencing that. And look, we can't do this to everyone. There isn't, in some instances, there isn't enough social media content out there to analyze a business. But for some businesses, there are. They're getting huge volumes of content.
You're obviously a Cambrian employee to start off with. What will you be offering to, say, for example, Brandish and Stonewall clients?
Oh, we're already offering. Basically, the Brandish clients, it's the analytics and reporting it's an incredibly valuable thing. If we hadn't done the merger, I know that we would have gone external to the websites that we currently run. We already do a few of those. We already do reporting on other companies' websites. That would have just continued to grow. I think for the next year we're going to focus on the clients and focus on delivering value to those guys. I think 2012 will be the year that we break out, go to other businesses. So we basically, we're just going to be dealing with internal clients and delaying our plans by a year.
Let's talk from the perspective of a client. If I was a client, how would I actually approach measuring a site or a campaign? And maybe you can give us the most important stuff to think about.
You'd call me? No. No, but basically what you need to do is you need to develop a digital framework. And what a digital framework is, it's a series of steps. It starts with looking at the customer's experience, all the way from awareness right the way down to conversion, in fact retention actually. And you basically, so you're starting offline actually. You might be starting with print campaigns. For each of the steps that the user goes through, you then have to have a digital strategy to address each of those steps. And then where analytics and measurement come in is really defining how we measure each point of that step. We go out and we find the data. We find data sources. So for awareness and campaigns, obviously what you want to do is maximize exposure, but you also want quality. Okay, so we'll look at awareness. We'll judge the campaigns in terms of how many people they deliver, and what the actual value of those people are. How much do they convert? And we'll do that for each step. Conversion in the case of e-commerce is purchasing. That's an easy metric to measure, And once you have the framework in place, it becomes very easy to measure the website on a monthly basis or weekly basis, or even in real time. You have these metrics. When they go up and down, that's when you actually drill down into the data and you do some analysis. That's the basic framework of reporting, but that's very focused on actually measuring success. What we do for some of our clients is we actually look at greater trends. So we look at what type of customers are coming to the site, what they're actually looking for. In some instances, we'll look at I love actually looking at this part of it, is propensity. What increases the propensity for a user to commit an action? So, what things can they do to increase sales on an e-commerce website? What's very interesting about that though is we can also break that down into segments where we look at different users from perhaps different countries, and that information, the fantastic thing about it, can be used offline as well. So let's take like an insurance product as an example. What education do you need to give the user before they buy your product, or the customer? We look at the websites and we figure out that during their journey they look at X, Y, and Z pieces of information, and the guys that look at that are more likely to buy. That actually then offline, when you designing your marketing, packaging, and things like that, you should actually address those issues on the packaging. And then, in the case of someone like South African tourism, there's a lot of information that we look at online that can be used in offline marketing. We actually look at key themes, which countries are favoring which particular theme. Are they favoring the cultural themes? Are they favoring safari themes? And those are very important things that they feed back into the content writers and actually the global marketing as well.
You mentioned a hell of a lot about how it's about making the customer, say, for example, convert to buying a product or making their experience better. Is there not an aspect of actually improving the website itself?
Oh, yeah, no, of course. I think I'm customer focused because I believe that, I said this actually the other day, is that, in part, we look at conversion rates and we look at, ROI and things like that. But what we do is we help users have a better experience. We help people find things, okay? And part of that is making the website a much better place for the user to be. It's not about efficiency. Efficiency is easy to achieve. You can refine everything down to like 2 clicks if you need to. Almost everything that requires conversion on a website requires an education process. It requires the customer becoming used to you and trusting you. And in order to do that, it's actually a very complex process. At times you need to take them off the path of conversion and show them something else and help them with something else. But if we look at, for instance, Pick and Pay, what we're doing is we're constantly trying to improve the user experience, because at the moment there's no hard conversion point. Yes, they take a shopping list into the store and that's fantastic, but actually what we're doing is we're just building up this community of people. And in order to build it up, we have to build tools that are pertinent and useful and make sure they're as efficient as possible to use. Yeah, we've got some sites that have absolutely no conversion. That's just there for information. They're literally online brochures, and that's the way they work. They're very sophisticated online brochures, but they still are. But they're part of another process. And that's something you need to agree with clients. You need to say to them, listen, the product you sell, actually you probably sell through the website one of this a year. It's a service or something, okay? And what the website needs to do is it needs to build your image online rather than actually be focused on selling a product. In that case, we look at totally different things. We almost ignore conversion in some points. Our conversion becomes different things. We'll look at, how many legitimate page views the person saw, and the goal isn't to have a maximum page views, because then they might be frantically searching through the site for something and they can't find, and, they've seen 10 pages, great, wonderful visit, but actually, so there's a lot of different factors we look at there. We actually take a very holistic view of the site. We'll look at things like search terms and stuff like that. And
those criteria that you talk about, though, is that set by the client? Is that set by the native analytics team? Who gets involved?
It's actually it's both parties. The client understands their business needs the best. It's difficult for the clients because this is obviously new, and often some of them it's the first time they're being exposed to it. That's often the case. But the fact is that clients understand their businesses the best. We can't. It would be presumptuous of us to assume that we understand the business better than they do. And often I found a couple of years ago when I used to try and do stuff like this, you do a business strategy for a business online, and you find out that you go on totally the wrong track because you assume the wrong points about how the business works. They might have a loss leader, and you think, oh well, that's great, let's sell more of those kind of thing, and actually screw the business over. And you present that in a strategy, and the worst thing is you get the shaking head. But the fact is that it's both parties. Often what we'll do is we'll recommend some goals to them. We've got a heck of a lot of experience, across multiple industries, and we can tell them what best practice is. And then it is obvious sometimes, but often they'll give us pointers as well. And there's other information they need. Like marketing may need to know where the predominant base of their users are in the country, and what perhaps what vehicle they're interested in those parts of the country.
Antonio, how important is strategy when it comes to analytics, and do you interface with the strategy teams?
The strategy is critically important. I sit almost inside the strategy team at the moment. In the new company, we'll be doing part of my time in the strategy team. The reason that it's important is because research and analytics and measurement will inform strategy, and our thinking going forward is that on the day that we sign a client, we get access to their analytics profile and start analyzing what their site is doing now. Work out what works on the site, and we let the business analyst and the strategist know that, because you don't want to kill something that's working. I've seen this happen the hard way, where an agency's gone along, they've designed a new component for the site, and it was all fantastic and shiny new, and they didn't understand actually by throwing the old component out what they were losing. So that's incredibly important. Then over the long term, strategy is incredibly important, because I will find issues on the website, and the only way to correct those issues is having knowledge and understanding of how online works. If there is something specific, a campaign, maybe a campaign has become really successful, it's very easy to say, oh, well, the campaign generated a spike. But to understand why it generated a spike and how you can replicate that spike requires wisdom. And that's where part of my experience over the years in online really helps me. I mean, I've been in several different parts of online, and I understand online marketing very well. I also need the additional help of strategists. I'm not going to stand up there and say, well, this campaign worked, this particular element of it worked, let's just replicate it. I inform the strategist, and they actually try and improve on that previous strategy. They try and amplify what it's doing.
Antonio, if I was launching a new campaign, what were the things I should look out for or should be aware of?
Media buying agencies. Look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's a lot of fly-by-nighters out there. There's about 5 media buyers in this country that I think actually are worth their salt, and a lot of people get taken for a ride. It's just that simple. I mean, I'm very disappointed often when I see the results of campaigns. I think that media buyers don't apply much flexibility. But basically, because of that, okay, what we do is we track every campaign. And we do that. I'm going to explain to people how to do this because I think it's very important. And also, I hate seeing people get cheated out of money. But basically, we track every campaign. And in Google Analytics, that would be very simple. Site as well, or with Omniture tools. You append the URL with the tag. We set up goals in the website for that campaign. Basically, when a person comes off that campaign, it's tracked into Google Analytics, and we see the conversion ratio to that goal. And we compare that campaign we can compare it with other campaigns or the benchmark, which is search traffic, organic traffic. And basically you assess the value of the campaign that way. It's very easy to see, and it's very easy to calculate ROI off that as well, because you divide the amount of goals that have been achieved by the cost of the campaign, and you'll very quickly understand how much it costs you per person to achieve that goal. And I see some shocking figures. I do, and I question those agencies' intentions with the client. I mean, really, it's... besides that, I also do see some fantastic campaigns. The recent winners of the bookmarks, the clicks to customers, I must say, incredible value for money, incredible traffic.
Now that it's 2011, are there any trends in the analytics and measurement world that you're looking forward to and that excite you?
Yeah, look, I don't like to pin stuff down to years. I think I always use the example of mobile here, 2008 year of mobile, 2009 year of mobile, 2010 year of mobile. In terms of analytics and measurement, I take the view of sort of 2011 to 2013, but basically what I'm seeing is that it's maturing to the point where we're starting to incorporate offline analytics. Since I started with analytics, I used to drool over these military tools that would use for battlefield analysis, like real-time battlefield analysis. But we're getting to the point now where people are getting a complete overview of the business that they're in. Really, that overview of the business is what's going to develop over the 2011 to 2013, and it's not. Right now, it's spreading beyond the website. I used examples earlier of like e-commerce deliveries and things like that, and integrating with SAP. But there are tools now that are starting to look at that. They're still looking at it very much from an analytics point of view. We're going to see other tools coming into play. Radian 6 is already plugging into Site Catalyst, also Google Analytics. So social media is going to be something that we look at. And I do believe that predictive reporting will be plugged onto the front of that. That's the thing, is that it's just going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to give people a clearer picture of the whole business. We've always had data on businesses, okay? It's really the tools and the ways of visualizing information that's now coming to the fore.
You also mentioned mobile briefly earlier. Is that something they can track easily, and should clients be aware of that?
Look, clients should be very aware of mobile. There's no doubt about it. I don't see as much activity as people claim. On average, I see about 10% of a website's traffic on mobile, but yes, you should be very aware of it, because people's use of mobile is totally different. You cannot replicate your website on your mobile phone, because people do not use mobile websites in the same way they use websites online. They have less page views. They have a great understanding of what they need from that website. Very small percentage of the time it's actually information gathering. They'll often go into the mobile site just to use the tools. Is the traffic tracking perfect yet on mobile phones? Absolutely not. Nobody's cracked this. We was part of the DMMA subcommittee where we reviewed a whole bunch of vendors, and not one of them has a solution that is a fail-safe tracking solution for mobile. There's too many handsets, there's too many browsers, too many variables that actually break tracking. But the most important thing to remember about tracking online is that it's about trends. And you can still pick up the trends on mobile. You can still pick up whether your visitors are going up or down, what day of the week they're accessing it. I'll tell you, one of the most surprising things about mobile, actually, is the usage pattern. Our traditional usage pattern in South Africa for websites is that we have high traffic during the weekdays and low traffic during the weekends. It's extreme. It's like, basically weekend traffic is about 25% of weekday traffic, okay? You don't see that overseas generally. And people say it's because guys are accessing their computers at work and things like that. And actually, yes, that's part of it. On mobile, it's almost the reverse. We see consistent traffic throughout the week, but we see a 25% higher spike on weekends. So the usage is totally different. The type of content people require on mobile is totally different. I'm very excited about mobile. I think a lot of it's overblown. And I joked earlier about the year of mobile being 2008, 2009, but I don't think there's going to be a year of mobile. I actually think that, at some point, mobile will just be this pervasive thing that we're all using to access, but we'll be using it for very specific things that are different to the way we use internet.
In the South African industry, how important is measurement and analytics?
I'm seeing a lot more educated customers. In first meetings, they ask me questions that are a lot more pertinent, and their awareness of it is growing. Okay, it's the customers that are starting to demand it. We've just been through some tough economic times. People are businesses are very aware of where they're spending money. They're putting pressure on their employees to know where that money's going. And analytics and measurement can provide them with the knowledge. Where it's falling down is in the agencies and in the vendors, the suppliers. I think that people are very, very scared of having their work tracked. They're scared of accountability. And I think the problem there is that actually at the end of the day, what they're not understanding is that if they embrace analytics and measurement, they themselves, the suppliers, can actually build a better product. They can build a better business. Not only for their clients, but they can work out what they do that actually delivers more. Imagine, like, as an advertising agency, being able to walk into a company and say, we can do this kind of ad for your product, and we know at a minimum we will get this percentage of people. It's a fantastic thing to offer, but unfortunately the guys are nervous about it, and I know that because I present data with agencies, and sometimes they get a bit prickly about it.
Let's get into some case studies. You can give us some facts and figures of work that you've done. I know this is your excitement.
Look, the case studies I kind of shy away from, because part of what I do is actually I help companies, and their data is private, and that's one of the things. And internally we will discuss the value that we're adding, but externally it's a bit difficult. But one of the things I think it's most impressive. Cambrian tracks about 150 websites. Okay, obviously we focus on a few client sites in terms of reporting and analytics. We don't provide everybody the same service, but there's a few key ones. But basically per month we track around 6 to 7 million visits. We look at about 25 million page views. We've got a huge amount of data coming in across a variety of industries. So we have massive potential to add value to a lot of different customers. I think what's more impressive than case studies, and what I'm more proud of, is that we've got a happy bunch of clients in terms of reporting and analysis. We've never lost a client. Our retainers continue to grow on our clients. They all see the value in it, and I like to think that they've all taken home big bonuses this year. Not just about the bonuses, but I know that we've helped people grow revenue significantly. In some instances, we're tracking websites that are basically sending through a few million rands worth of viable leads. Increasing their value significantly over the year. Like I said, we haven't had any of our conversion rates decrease. Our visits are all increasing. Yes, we're doing a good job. If we weren't, the clients would be jumping up and down.
Anything in closing you'd recommend or would like to say to the clients and potential clients for Native?
The parting message, and it's not I don't want people to take this as a parting shot. And I don't even want to take people to take it as a sales pitch. Yes, I'd love people's business, but quite frankly, for companies out there who have an online presence, measurement and analytics is an incredibly important thing. Being able to understand the value that you're getting from online is critical. If you look at your website and you're getting 10,000 visits or 300,000 visits a month, those aren't just people landing on your website. Those are potential customers. Those are guys coming to you for business. And you actually have to understand, you've got to understand how to maximize the value of that. You've also got to understand the reverse side of it. What is driving those people to your website? How much is it costing you to drive those people to your website? Is that actually a valuable spend? It's all critical stuff. And I could sit here all day and give examples of things that haven't worked, but you need to understand what is working about your website and how to maximize that. And to me, it's almost a kind of negligence not to actually be focused on analytics when you have an online presence.
Thinking Native is a part of the making of Native, a 4-month journey into the making of South Africa's newest full-service agency. For more insights with Native's leading thinkers, visit us on www.native.co today or follow us on @NativeSpeak.